Good Monday morning, and thanks for checking out the latest long-range forecast update. Michael Clark here with BAMWX.com and theweatherporthole.com. Very important video today as we are analyzing the threat of a possible major hurricane to impact the Texas coastline here by Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, all right, especially here by Thursday morning. Other big stories here are going to include much above normal temperatures here across the northern half of the U.S., and very low relative humidity values, just continued just very unfavorable weather for the central U.S., Iowa, Illinois, again, just really not looking at much in the way of rainfall. And then the remains of Laura, where is it going to go? How much rain are we going to see? We're going to try and talk about all this. So we'll get right into things. This is the intro slide here into your daily long-range email report. This graphic here was tweeted by Tomer Berg. You can follow him here on Twitter. A very fascinating graphic because what this shows us is Laura's basically current apparent location just south here of Cuba and kind of, not on the land, which is very important because when it's over water, it doesn't obstruct or interfere with the storm's structure as much as it would being over land. What's fascinating is these are the European computer model forecast 24 hours ago for where it would be currently. And you can see just how far off the model has continued to be really with a lot of the model data. Now, the UK Met's doing pretty good, and the latest run of the European models are doing pretty well. But some of the reasoning, I think you're going to see a change in the tone in some of the official forecast products and the track is going to be because of how poorly the computer model data has handled Laura overall. We've analyzed just about every angle we can this morning, and I'm going to get right into it, kind of what we're thinking. This is the latest satellite imagery, GO16 from Tropical Tidbits. Levi Cohen there, tropicaltidbits.com. A fantastic site for all of these tools, models, satellite, and it's free. You can check this out. But you can see the latest satellite representation here of Laura just south of Cuba. And you can see it's starting to try to consolidate. It's starting to try and organize. The explosion here of some convection on the northern end of this would indicate possibly it's starting to try and consolidate and possibly wrap up. And it's going to continue its trek off of land and into the Gulf of Mexico, which can become very problematic. There's a couple of things going on here that's very important that relates to the track of this. Point number one, 500 millibar ridge here off to the north. Okay, the forecast, the trend in that ridge over the last 5 days has been for it to trend a little bit stronger as we're getting closer. That's going to enhance the westerly steer or the westerly current of this storm and keep it from really, kind of doing one of these numbers. It's going to keep it continuing to go further west. There's also a weak trough here over Texas. That weak trough over Texas as Laura treks into the Gulf is going to allow it to somewhat pick it up a little bit. All right, so with the combination of the ridge here, the trough here, the very warm Gulf of Mexico waters here, and it's staying off of land, the trajectory here and the path overall indicates that the environment ahead is conducive for rapid intensification, and that the possibility may be a very strong hurricane, Category 5, possibly, or Category 4, possibly Category 5 into the Texas coastline. I really do think if we're talking about this from a standpoint of impact, I don't think it's going to go east of this line, and I don't think it's going to go west of this line. Just based on everything we're seeing, I think the Louisiana coastline for now is probably going to miss the eye of this storm. I'm more concerned from Houston to Galveston to Corpus Christi right now for impact from Laura. Okay, the latest ECMWF, the 6Z run, you can see takes it just west of, pretty much in Houston, the eye just a mile or so west of Houston, Wednesday night into Thursday. Okay, with a minimum pressure here at around 964 millibars as it hits over land. This would be, really worst case scenario for multiple reasons, especially when looking at winds. The European model forecasting gusts that would exceed the Category 5 threshold of 157 miles per hour. Now, the model is indicating winds over that. It may have a bias to be a little bit too strong with that, But regardless here, you can see that swath of wind here forecasted from the latest European model. Now, we want to go and look at its ensembles, and something that's very important here from a standpoint of analyzing how the models are doing is just looking at, again, exactly where we're at. This is the 6-hour forecast from the 6Z, which is the 2 a.m. European ensemble run, and that's going to be valid for right now. You can see it has its location probably pretty doggone spot on, and the latest flight recon data indicated that the minimum pressure we saw about an hour ago was 997 millibars, just south of Cuba. So we would look at the members that have a stronger low pressure, or lower pressure, if you will, at the start of this forecast to get a better idea of what side of the ensemble envelope we want to favor, if you will. And so it's definitely the stronger ones. It's not the green members. You see up here, green would indicate 1,000 to 1,010 millibars. The blues are 999 to 980. So we would automatically, we kind of draw our conclusion here that those are doing pretty well. You can see it takes its trek where it would clip Cuba for a very short period of time, and it's probably a hurricane by tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked. The NHC's 5 a.m. advisory is probably not a hurricane at that point. Or probably is, I'm sorry, a hurricane by that point. You can see the trajectory that this starts to take. All right, again, looking at the favored cluster of ensembling that we think is probably the best scenario. Again, we're kind of, remember, we're kind of looking in this area here. So we follow that out. And again, that puts us right between Corpus Christi and Houston. And the EPS latest run, the members here, you know, they support that thought process, so can slam the coast of Texas here. The UK Met's very similar. In fact, the UK Met is just a little bit further west of Houston than the ECMWF is, but it's done a little bit better with its initialization in terms of where it's handling and where it's initializing with that storm. This map here, courtesy of Pivotal Weather. But here's the Houston area, and again, you can see just west, closer to the Corpus Christi area. But again, that's why we're kind of favoring this area right now. These computer models seem to be doing a pretty good job. Here's your UK Met ensembles. You can see here from their 0Z run, they had a pretty good handle on the location of Laura as of this morning. And so again, it takes a very similar trajectory. And again, I think that we're starting to possibly eliminate this due to the features I talked about at the beginning of the video with the ridge and the trough, and its current just the continued verification of the Laura being south of the model tracks here up until this morning. Okay, so I think continued adjustments. We're probably going to see a pretty big shift in the cone here from NHC in 40 minutes. So here's a look at our official forecast. Okay, this is our official forecast that we come up with this morning. And you can look at the text here that we've gotten. We're favoring a landfall from Galveston to Freeport, potentially. I don't think it's east again of Port Arthur. All right, and I don't think it's west of Corpus Christi. I think this is where we're at. All right, so, and right now we're favoring a possible Category 4 hurricane upon landfall Wednesday night into Thursday. So everybody really needs to be taking this incredibly seriously and be on the lookout for not only when that storm makes landfall, but then what comes after that. The UK Met, we really like how it's handling the convection thereafter and where it takes the rainfall, because it will interact with the front. And so the key and the timing of the interaction with the front and the remains here of Laura are going to be, you know, really a big part of the equation here for the forecast when we're talking about where does the rain go and who gets it. This takes us out through Saturday evening. It's a 6-day rainfall projection. Again, some places here in Houston, East Texas, East Oklahoma, northwestern portions of Arkansas and far southern Missouri, looking at flooding conditions with an excess of well over 5 inches of rainfall. The bigger question becomes, you know, what are we looking at here? How much rainfall are we looking in the Ohio Valley? And exactly where does that go? That can still be fine-tuned. All of this can still slightly adjust over the next couple of days. But this is kind of the best idea when looking at it from a standpoint of what model solution do we favor the most over the next 7 days? Well, we believe we're going to stay drier in here, the continued dry risks. But then coming in here from Laura, we think there can be some decent rainfall. Okay, and just how far north? it's probably I-70 south right now. It's the thought process, but again, we will continue to fine-tune that in the days ahead here. So here's our official week 1 and 2 products in terms of what are we putting our name on, what are we saying is going to happen. You know, similar to how things have been so far month to date, portions of Kansas, northern Missouri, Iowa, southern Minnesota, Wisconsin. You're going to stay on the drier side of things over the next week, especially as most of the energy will be concentrated to Laura, to the remains of Laura. The risk here for week 2 is probably going to be the rains actually verify in some of the drier areas. I think that can possibly happen, but I think we're on the first couple of days of this, because on the second half of week 2, I think the forecast can start to trend drier. Okay. Here's a look at week 1 and week 2 temperatures. Obviously pretty warm this week. The cold front sweeps in here coming into next week, and will be pretty cool for a time before we start to see the pattern begin to warm up a touch closer out to the back half of week 2 and into week 3. I think right around September 5th and 6th, the pattern can start to rebound and temperatures can get pretty warm, especially the second half of the month. There could be some significant warmth work in. I'm going to kind of speed through these next couple of slides. We're already coming up on 11 and a half minutes, but we're linking this to the angular momentum and the Madden-Julian oscillation, the negative AAM and the MJO kind of propagating, if you will, phases 1, 2, and possibly into 3 and 4 before it may do one of these and go back into 8, 1, and 2. It may do one of these circulations here a little bit, but as it propagates east across the Indian Ocean into the maritime continent, the warmer risks in our forecast can increase. And there are some other pieces of data that do suggest this can happen. This is the outgoing long-wave radiation prediction. But you see here as the convection, or the OLR, if you will, gets stronger in the East Indian Ocean, that is MJO phase 3. So we need to kind of base our thought process in the longer term off of that. MJO phase 2, which is where we are right now, shows the cold. Negative AAM, MJO2 since 2000. You see the cold front, right? Looks great. Then you go into MJO phase 3. The warmth starts to return, probably focused a little bit more in the west, which is why our weeks 3 and 4 outlook from Friday favored the much above normal temperatures further west to start that period. But if in fact we do get into MJO 4, it can get very warm here, which lines up well with the negative angular momentum correlation for September since 2000. So we believe the EPS is probably holding on to the cold a little bit too long. It's holding on to this trough a little bit too long, and I think that the warmer trends can probably increase over the coming days, especially in the 10 to 15. We have a couple of reasons for that. Not only is it the negative AAM, the MJO, it's also the SOI, and it's also a distinct wave 5 pattern that we picked up on a couple of weeks ago that would indicate around the 6th or 7th of September is when we could really start to get warm, and then getting into the middle and back half of September. The parallel GEFS data handling this a little bit better. It's not as deep with the trough. It's rebounding temperatures faster. And that's the same thing here again. When we look at the 6th of September, again, we're looking at negative AAM. All right, we're looking at MJO. We're looking at the SOI, and then again our wave 5 pattern that indicates that's when temperatures should rebound. All right, so our long-range outlooks, our weeks 3 and 4 from Friday, not bad. And if the only adjustments we would make probably to tomorrow's is we're probably going to skirt this east a little bit with time as the warmer temperatures do look to rebound. So as of right now, you know, there's not really any huge indications for early frost or anything like that of the such. I mean, if anything, the indications are we can continue to see overall unfavorable conditions for Iowa. Not really any big pattern changes coming up for them. Any huge, rainfall potentials coming up. So overall, the warmer pattern is definitely probably going to prevail as we get into September, and the tropics will probably stay active as well. Guys, thanks for logging on or checking out the latest BAMWX.com video. We'll keep you posted. Have a great day.